Dr. Ma, and I would like to personally welcome you to the Tea with the Masters podcast. The show is hosted by one of the world's leading martial arts experts, Grandmaster Richard Hackworth. He is a scholar, author, speaker, mentor, and business coach, and president of the USA Hapkido Union, as well as the USA Director for the World Martial Arts Congress. This show is sponsored by WorldMartialArtsMedia.com, the world's leader in martial arts education, information, and entertainment. We invite you to like and share this video with your friends and subscribe to this channel so that you never miss an exciting episode. Now let's get on with the show.
Hello and welcome, Richard Hackworth here, your host of today's show, and we have a very special guest, Justin Harvey from the Justin Harvey Show, and we're talking a little bit about the life and times of Justin Harvey, and which is going to be featured in a new biography about Justin. So we're going to start first with the early years. Justin, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I've got my coffee with me because I've not had enough coffee. So if you hear me drinking coffee, folks, I do apologize.
No worries, no worries. Now, one of the things that people might not know is that you've been a pretty controversial character all along, and it's been a real fight to survive for you starting from the beginning. Can you tell us about your early childhood?
Of course, of what I can remember. Well, let's start off with the fact that the reason things are controversial, as far as my birth goes, I was actually supposed to have been born in November, and I was actually born September the 11th. So I was actually born a preemie, a preemie child. And they weren't sure that I was going to live. And if memory serves me correctly, Rich, a doctor told my mom that if I lived, I was going to be nothing but a vegetable. I wouldn't know that I would be in the world. And the doctor told her that she should just put me in like a care facility or whatever, and just leave me there and call it a day. And she says, whether he's a vegetable or not, this is my baby, and he's coming home with me. So.
Well, that's definitely an incredible start. And it turns out you proved them wrong, didn't you?
Yeah, and believe it or not, Rich, they actually thought that I wasn't even going to be able to verbally talk, believe it or not. And Mom says now she can't get me to shut up.
Yeah.
You know?
So now I know that part of the thing that was a real challenge for you as a kid was, I understand that you've always been in a wheelchair. Is that correct?
Yeah. Ever since birth, I've been in a wheelchair. I've never been able-bodied, as I would like to call it. I did, however, in my later years, I was able to walk with a walker some, but as I got older, it just got tougher and tougher. But I'm sure we'll get more into that later on with the biography. But yeah,
sure.
Things was good for me, and when I couldn't, go play outside or do certain things that kids would do, I guess I kind of created this own little fantasy world for myself, and I would actually sit and watch movies like Bloodsport and Kickboxer and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I kind of, would do certain things to substitute for stuff that I couldn't do.
So now, what was the first martial arts movie that caught your attention that you remember?
Could you please repeat that?
I said, what was the very first martial arts movie that kind of caught your attention that made you decide you wanted to learn about martial arts?
I would have to say Bloodsport because if memory serves me correct again, I actually saw the movie Bloodsport at the age of 3. I don't remember how or when this actually happened, but my cousin at the time, he was big into, I guess, martial arts films, and I was, at his home at 3 years old, sitting in his room, and I guess he knew that I liked, like Ninja Turtles and stuff like that, and I guess he thought, I'd get a kick out of Bloodsport, so he showed me Bloodsport at 3 years old, and I was hooked ever since. So I would watch Bloodsport religiously, right after that.
Yeah, now, so that's pretty young to be getting into martial arts because, most 3-year-olds are watching Sesame Street and things like that. But you were actually already a fan of the fighting arts.
Yeah, exactly. And believe it or not, like, on today's standards, a kid at 3 years old is not supposed to watch a film that's, rated R. So.
And then now Bloodsport kind of stuck with you throughout your life. What was the next movie that had a big influence on you as a child?
Well, let's see. Kickboxer, I really enjoyed that because it was a lot like Bloodsport, even though I didn't realize that at the time. That was another movie I enjoyed. But one movie that my cousin showed me at a very young age. I can't remember how old I was, but he would get so sick of me watching Bloodsport all the time that he would actually get me to sometimes watch a movie called TC 2000, and it was different than Bloodsport, but I think the reason he was able to talk me into watching TC 2000 is because it actually had the guy that played Chong Ling in that movie as well, and that's what got me into TC 2000. With it had Billy Blank in it, and then it had the guy that played Chong Li, Bolo Young, and then it had Matthias Hughes in it. So sometimes he would try to switch it up, and talk me into at least watching TC 2000 because he would get so sick of me watching Bloodsport all the time.
Well, I kind of remember that movie, and I thought it was interesting. It had a lot of martial artists that were kind of considered icons of the 1980s, and so all the names that you just mentioned, I'm very familiar with. And then, but as you went on, like through elementary school, did you suffer like any particular challenges about, just simple things like going to school and dealing with other kids at school? What was that like?
Back in elementary school, it wasn't so bad, and believe it or not, a lot of people don't realize this, but when I was in school, I guess at first, like first grade, I was considered a nerdy kid because I wore glasses and the whole bit, so I could try to see better, even though my vision, I'm actually legally blind, which a lot of people don't know that. And I actually, first grade, I would make straight A's in school until sixth grade, and then sixth grade I kind of got I would goof off in sixth grade, and when I hit sixth grade, I actually stopped making straight A's, because, a kid at that age, you know what that's like, Rich,
Right.
So
now, most people consider 20/20 vision to be like excellent vision. So to be classified as legally blind, what is your vision rating?
I'm not sure exactly what my vision is now, but the way I can explain the way I'm legally blind is I actually have to have, it's hard for me to read small print. I have to have things blown up and to be able to see it better. And then, like, if I see somebody, they have to be in close distance of me, or I can't see that they're even waving at me. So it's hard for me to see stuff far away. So,
Yes.
'cause I remember.
So now, being a premature baby, do you know if you were in an incubator?
Yes, I was. Yeah, because if I'm remembering correctly, it, and if this is wrong, I apologize, but I remember Mom telling me that they actually had to get enough oxygen to my brain so that I could live. That in the process, it ended up damaging my eyesight.
Now, I know that premature babies, a lot of them suffer vision problems, including total blindness from the incubators. And I guess they didn't realize it at the time. But, yeah, I'm not surprised that that's a result of being a premature baby. Now, I myself was a premature baby and was in an incubator, which is the reason that I'm colorblind. So I didn't suffer like a quality of vision, but I suffer for not being able to see color. So when you watch a black and white movie, that's the way I see the world. And so I'm very familiar with what you're talking about the incubators. But so in elementary school, now, what town were you born in?
Beckley, West Virginia. And there's something that I wanted to mention too, Rich, while we're thinking about it here. And this is something that no one knows except my family, but and you don't even know this, and me and you have been close for years. But when I was a kid, I used to have small seizures as well.
And so, how old were you when that was going on?
I was like real young. I'm going to say 5 or 6, but I have to verify that with my mom. But I can do that at a later date, I'm sure, for this biography.
Yeah. So you were born in Beckley, and then you were raised in Shady Springs. You always lived in the same family home?
Well, I actually lived in my family home. I lived in Grandview for first grade until after I got out of high school, and then I ended up I ended up living in my grandparents' home after my grandparents had passed. My mom and dad actually ended up buying the house, so now I live in Shady Springs. So I'd say about the time I was out of high school, probably about a year later or two, I ended up moving over here with them, and it's an okay place. So.
Yeah, but you've always lived in the Beckley and surrounding area?
Yeah.
I see. And then, now, how were you getting to school?
Well, if memory serves me correctly, when I was younger, I rode the bus, but I do remember, like, when I was younger, I believe Mom ended up taking me to school some. But, like, first grade and stuff, I remember, like, riding the school bus and stuff like that. And my mom had to fight with the school system all the time to make sure that I, got a handicapped bus to be able to ride to school. So we've had to fight the school system a lot for a lot of stuff. So.
And then when you started going to, did you go to middle school or junior high?
I went to, the way it worked with us, I went to like first grade through 6th, and then junior high was 7th, 8th, and 9th, and then high school was 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Right.
But it's different. It's different now for kids, so it's.
Oh yeah.
To me, it's ass backwards, but it is what it is.
And so, as you got older, did your taste in martial arts skills change?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I said, as you got older, did your taste for martial arts movies change, or did you have like a couple of favorite stars that you just watched all their movies?
I wouldn't say that it changed. I would say that it actually grew because, after I got older, I started to realize, how the movements go, and I would, look up to different stars, even some of the bad guys, because when you're little like that, you don't normally root for bad guys, You want the good guy to win because you don't realize that that's not real.
And then you always had like a flair for like things from the combat arts, and I understand that you're also a professional wrestling fan.
Oh yeah, as you personally yourself know, because me and you have worked together in the wrestling business. So.
Yes, we have. And then, now, who was your first favorite wrestler?
I would have to say my first favorite wrestler of all time was Mick Foley, because at a young age, my uncle introduced me to wrestling. And growing up, which he doesn't do this now, but growing up, he would come to my home and we would go downstairs together and we would watch wrestling together.
So now, when you say Mick Foley, were you like a fan of all of his personas like Dude Love and Cactus Jack and Mankind?
You didn't come in clear. Can you repeat that? I'm so sorry, Rich.
Oh, no worries. I was saying that, so with Mick Foley, did you like all of his gimmicks like Dude Love and Mankind and Cactus Jack?
Yeah, oh yeah. And believe it or not, I actually loved when he did the Dude Love character, because I kind of saw myself in Dude Love, the guy that gets all the ladies, the smooth talker, So I really enjoyed when he did Dude Love. That was an awesome gimmick.
Yeah. Now, as far as the wrestling goes, I understand that over the years you had actually developed relationships with a couple of particular wrestlers. How old were you when that started?
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, I actually, let me see here. I've actually met quite a few wrestlers. I got to meet X-Pac when I was 20 years old. Even though me and him weren't like friends, but like I guess my first wrestling friend would be Bruce Hart, and me and Bruce actually became friends, I would say, does the year actually have to be perfect for the biography?
No.
Okay. I'm going to say, because I started my podcast in 2000, so I'm going to say estimate 3 years after 2004. So
now, when you were like elementary school and middle school, did you have like a favorite martial arts move?
Can you repeat that, Rich? You didn't come in clear, pal.
Yeah, I said when you were in elementary school or even going into middle school, what were like your favorite martial arts moves?
Oh, that's a good question. I used to like when the martial artists would like fly in the air and do like kind of like a drop kick, but kind of not, but like to the side, like how they used to do in the old movies, like and then they would just fly across the screen. That's so cool.
Yeah, like the flying sidekick.
Yeah. That's it. Flying sidekick. And then I used to like when the opponent used to get like thrown. all the time. Like I really enjoyed when I would see somebody get thrown.
And then compared to that, what were like some of your favorite pro wrestling moves?
Oh wow. Well, one of my favorite wrestling moves, which is considered quite raunchy today, but you remember the wrestler X-Pac?
Yes.
I used to like the move, the Bronco Buster that he used to do. Do you remember that move, Rich?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I mean, to today's standards, it would be considered raunchy, but I used to love when he get the opponent to do the Bronco Buster. It was, wasn't it called the Bronco Buster?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite moves. And I, back in the 90s, I was a big fan of the whole DX gimmick. I went crazy over that.
Now, how old were you when you saw your first live wrestling show in person?
How old was I when I saw my first wrestling match?
Yeah, live.
Well, I've only been to a house show. I'd have to say, if it's a WWE event, I'd have to say I was probably, I want to say 18, 19 before I actually got to go to a house show. So, and believe it or not, Rich.
What about independent wrestling, like local wrestling?
I'm sorry, you're not coming in clear again, Rich.
Yeah, that's okay. What about local wrestling?
Local wrestling, that's an easy one. I was 16 years old when I first saw my first local wrestling match, I guess, because if you'll remember, I talked about with you in private about how I used to help at a camp for people with disabilities. So I was 16 years old when I first saw my first local wrestling event in Princeton, West Virginia. So.
And is that when you decided you were going to go up against all the odds and actually become a wrestler?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what actually gave me the idea. And believe it or not, later on in this biography, I may end up talking about this, but yeah, that actually ended up happening, through that summer camp, believe it or not.
Yeah. And then tell us a little bit more about your junior high years, because I know that that was kind of when I think you had pretty much decided that you were going to be involved with martial arts personally and professionally somehow as you were getting older.
Yeah. Now, my junior high years was awesome. I was very popular. As a matter of fact, my best friend that I'm friends with today, his name's Will. When I first met him, it's a funny story. I was actually in the gym one day, and I seen these two pretty girls. And I actually had my music, I had my headset around my neck, and I had my rap music going, and I was trying to impress the ladies, and then I was doing wheelies in my manual wheelchair, and then the next thing I know, my chair is flipping backwards, and the first person to actually help me back up after my chair flipped was Will. So
you were popping wheelies and the chair went all the way over?
Yeah, completely flipped.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I was cocky back then, Rich, and believe it or not, I actually almost went down a bad path in junior high because I thought I was, hot stuff, and and I was actually friends with a gang member for a while, and I almost went down a bad path.
Yeah. No, so who were your strongest musical influences when you were in middle school?
Oh wow. You're probably going to laugh at this, but it's okay. My favorite country singer of all time was Billy Ray Cyrus. So. And
then,
believe
but
it or not,
you said you were listening to rap a little while ago. Who was it?
Rap artist?
Yeah.
DMX was my favorite rap artist.
Yeah. Is that who you were listening to when you flipped your chair?
Yeah.
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 Now, I noticed that you have a lot of DMX merchandise, man.
Yeah.
So you've been a long-term supporter of his.
Yeah, and believe it or not, Rich, when I was younger like that in junior high, my mom and dad didn't want me listening to DMX's lyrics because his lyrics was very explicit. But I would even sneak and still listen to his music as much as I could. But, you know.
And were they not aware at the time that you were very explicit?
I guess not. I guess they were trying to, you know, instill values in me. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're that young, you shouldn't be listening to that kind of music, I guess. But I still would, you know, because I would even go to school and I'd be like, dude, you got that DMX tape? You know, so, but, you know.
What did you think about later on when DMX was actually in a martial arts movie?
I was actually quite thrilled. And believe it or not, I actually have those movies that he was in, and even though there is an actor in one of those movies that I absolutely despise now, I still enjoy that one particular movie that DMX is in.
Yeah, I think I know the co-star that you were talking about. He seems to think a lot of himself.
Yeah, he is not a nice person.
Yeah.
If you ask me, somebody needs to teach him some humility. I think he is way too full of himself.
Yeah. So if you could give us a rundown, what do you think at that age were your 3 favorite martial arts movies?
Can you repeat that? You cut out, Rich.
Oh, I said at that age, there in middle school, what were your 3 favorite martial arts movies?
Oh God, only 3?
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles, Bloodsport, and Kickboxer, but I'm gonna throw in a 4th, and Lionheart.
And can you tell us a little bit about what the connection is between Kickboxer, Lionheart, and Bloodsport?
Well, they're all Van Damme movies. And most of them, not all, but most of them are connected to Frank Dukes because, believe it or not, Frank Dukes actually worked on Lionheart. So.
And wasn't Bloodsport loosely based on Frank Dukes' life?
Yeah. It's actually created a lot of controversy in his life because a lot of people believe that it didn't happen. And the way I handle things nowadays, I just tell people, do your own research and draw your own conclusions.
Yeah. But I understand more so than watching those movies, you have a closer connection to Frank Dukes.
Yes, I do. He's actually a personal friend of mine. I actually got to stay at his home and train with him, and I actually got to meet him back in 2009, and we actually watched Bloodsport together, and so yeah, Frank has become like family, and you know, I wouldn't trade it for the world, you know. And then yeah, it's not every day that somebody gets to meet their hero, and then it's not every day that their hero becomes one of their, you know, one of their friends. So that doesn't normally happen.
Oh, so that was like a big jump forward. You were already, what, 24, 25 years old when you made that connection?
Yeah. And believe it or not, when I first talked to Frank on the phone, you know, before meeting him, this was like a year before prior. Nobody believed that I actually spoke to Frank Dukes. My family didn't even believe that I did. They thought that I might have spoken to somebody that was, you know, playing a prank.
Yeah. And then I want to go back a little bit to the music. Can you tell me a little bit about your personal connection to the song Fight to Survive?
This one might be hard to explain, but like, I always wanted to be a kumite fighter, and I guess with that song, I guess it helps me to fight and to live the best life that I can. And it's ironic, you know, it's my favorite song tied with my favorite movie. I mean, what are the odds of that? It's crazy. It's crazy.
And so it was very inspirational for you.
Yeah.
Now, I heard that you actually recorded a cover tribute to that song. Is that correct?
That is correct. I did record it, and believe it or not, the first version that I recorded, a friend of mine. This is kind of a funny story, and I wish I would have thought of it at the time. But the first version that was ever recorded, a friend did like a tribute for me. He re-recorded the song. So I talked to my friend at the time, and I said, you know, why don't can I come to your studio at your home and record my own version? And he said, yeah. The only problem was whenever he set it up to record it, he didn't bother to take out his vocals in the song like he was intended to, and so that recording didn't go according to plan. So what we ended up having to do is I actually had to redo the song twice, but that's okay.
Yeah. Now, that's not your only song that you've ever recorded, though, is it?
No, I actually did. I actually recorded the song on my own alone, although I will say I was very disappointed with that one because I just couldn't get my vocals right with that one. And then I actually recorded, well, one was a collaboration with an idea that I had, and then one, I actually wrote one of my own songs just in my head, and that's a pretty interesting story in itself.
Yeah. So I can see we're running out of time, but we're going to continue. We'll pick up in the next show with you entering into high school and some more of your escapades there. But it's been a real pleasure working with you today. I appreciate your time, and I'm sure that everybody listening has been a bit inspired by your story.
My pleasure. You know, and if this biography is going to help anybody, that's what it's going to be for. You know, I'm glad to do it. Glad to do it.
Well, we appreciate you being here for the show. Thank you so much, and we'll talk again soon.
I am Instructor Ma, and you have been watching the Tea with the Masters podcast. On behalf of our show host, Grandmaster Richard Hackworth, and his guests, we thank you for watching and remind you to visit our sponsor, WorldMartialArtsMedia.com, the world's leader in martial arts education, information and entertainment. We look forward to having you join us again next time. If you haven't done so, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. We love to hear from you, so please feel free to leave us some words of encouragement in the comments section.